Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are back with another episode of Voice of Overseas Pakistani. Voice of Overseas Pakistani, we are getting a lot of response. People are giving us ideas, suggestions, and questions to raise during the show. For that, I'm very thankful to you. And today we have a very interesting topic to discuss about democracy. Democratic countries are growing. You say United States of America or United Kingdom or Australia and the European countries who has a true form of democracy. People are having the benefit of this system. I had an opportunity to visit the British Parliament, and the what I saw and what I heard, and the history and the culture and the atmosphere and the governance systems. I feel really, really happy that human evolution can be so prestigious at some point of time where all the human beings are involved in the governance, no matter where they live, if they are part of the United Kingdom's system, they live in Wales, they live in Scotland, or they live in London, or they live in Midlands. They all are having an opportunity to be a part of a local government or a state or a federation. This all systems is really, really nice. And there's a big history how they contain their history from kingdom to a democracy, where kingdom is still there with its own beauty and glory, and people elect their own government and they run the show the way they want, as we know that the government of people, for the people, and by the people. In this also, it's very important to mention that there are so many developing countries which are still not reaching to the true British democratic system. And as a result, we can see that people are poor, they are below the poverty line, their quality of life is low. They are not getting the benefits of being elected, and once they don't have the true representatives in the parliament, as a result, there is a disconnection between the citizen and the ruling elite. And we saw in some countries that ruling elite is getting popular and richer, and they are um, like kingdoms, they are ruling over the period of time. For example, if you see that some countries who are democratic, and there is so-called voting and parliament, but you will see that the grandfather died, a daughter came, and daughter went, so the son came, So it's been 40, 50 years, the same family ruling. And we saw in Sri Lanka, we saw in Pakistan, we saw in India, and a couple of other countries that the democracy is if you compare it with the British democracy, how close or far they lies with. So to discuss the democratic frameworks, what are the options available today, we are blessed to have our guest live from Australia about the democratic systems and how it can help the citizens. So please welcome Imran Ashraf.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you for your kind introduction. And welcome to all the viewers. I think we are doing this episode after a little bit break, and I'm glad to see everybody is back. Very, very important topic today, Musa. And as you have explained, the important part and importance of democracy around the world. And like you mentioned, we have the opportunity to visit the British Parliament, and you have seen such an amazing system. And it is basically basically an amazing institution because it has a complete dynamic system. And what I would like to do, I would like to give basically, I would like to define the democracy. Democracy is a very old word, and it is actually narrated from the Greek language. It has two components: demos, which means the society in which the any civil society where people lives, and kratos, which is the second part of the word, which means the rule of law. So it is basically the people's rule of law in terms of the modern world. And yes, today, most of the developed countries in the world, most of the advanced economies or advanced countries, they are having a democratic system. And there are few different types of democratic systems we can witness around the world. But the most common, like direct democracy, representative democracy, constitutional democracy, and monetary democracy. But the most common and most popular system around the world these days is the representative democracy, which means that the people in the society, people in the city, people in the country will have the opportunity to elect their representatives by virtue of the vote. And then those representatives or elected representative will go into the country or that society parliament or assembly, where they can actually do legislation for the betterment of the people of that society, for the needs of the people of that society. And also, uh, these representatives which are elected by the people, they are answerable of their actions and deeds to their people. If they do any wrong decisions or which is not in the benefit of the society, then society by all means have the right of opportunity that in the next term of voting, they will punish those representatives by not casting their vote to them. So, in saying, it's a very balanced rule of law, it's a very balanced rule of power. The representatives, those who have got the opportunity to run the management of the country government, being elected by the people, and they are answerable to their people for all of their deeds, all of their actions, for which they are performing while staying in power or in the government. If those decisions or those actions are not fruitful for that society or that country, then they are answerable back to those people, those who have elected them, and choose them to represent their society. So that is a very popular form of democracy which is being used in most of the developed countries of the world. And I can witness the same form of democracy in Australia, where the parliament is being elected by the people through the direct vote, and those representatives will go into the parliament, they will form the government, and they then they run the parliament or the assembly or the government for the set prescribed term, and then they will deliver as per their promises which they have made to their constituents or to the people. And if they fulfill their promises or will make or bring some betterment in the life of the people, then they by all means will win the support of the electorates and the people, and then they will have the opportunity to get elected again. But if by any instance they cannot perform, they cannot perform well, or they can't deliver anything which they have promised to their electorates or to the people or to the society, then by all means the society or the people will punish them, and by not electing them for the next term. So yes, this is the most popular form of democracy around the world these days, which is representative democracy. Yes, Musa.
That's amazing. So, if we see the democracy of developing countries versus developed countries, we can see that there is a clear difference. You can feel that developing countries, like you are living in Australia and people living in England, they feel that they are connected. So there is a system that connects to the member of parliaments. And if you see the developing countries, there is a disconnection. So can you please give some highlights that what systems are available in the world and which system is the most efficient in working and helping people for making their life better?
Thank you, Musa. This is once again a very fantastic question in terms of this topic, democracy. But before directly going to the answer of this question, that what is the reason that developing economies or developing countries are not directly following the advanced democracy, I would like to highlight the main pillars of democracy. I think for any democratic society, any democratic country, there are four main pillars: legitimacy, justice, freedom, and power. When we talk about the legitimacy is basically in means that any government, those who have the popular mandate of the people, when they will come into the power, they have the legitimacy to make decisions because they have the majority of the vote of the constituents or the electorates. And justice is achieved when citizens live in an environment with all citizens being treated equally. There is a rule of law, just and all law is equal for everyone, as we can witness this sort of facility in our modern and developed societies like Australia and like you are in United Kingdom in England, where the law is always a prevailing power and law is equal for everyone. So I think this is another second important pillar of the democracy, which is equality of justice, rule of law. And now the third important part is the freedom. The freedom is the self-determination such that citizens may take decisions for which they can take or accept their responsibilities. It's a freedom of speech, it's the freedom for the civil societies, freedom of expression, and freedom of media, freedom of expressing the ways for the people, their choices and their benefits. So that is also a very important pillar, important part of the democracy. All these advanced countries, America, US, Australia, Canada, UK, those countries, those who have set the exemplary example of the modern democracy, have this opportunity and facility of the freedom. And the most importantly is the power. In a liberal democracy, efforts are always made to limit the power by means of written constitutions. A constitution is developed, and all the or institutions in that government, in that society, whether it's a parliament, whether it's administration, whether it's bureaucracy, whether it's civil societies, they are abide by that rule of law of the constitution. They work within their guidelines by following the constitutions. So these are the main pillars of the democracy. Now coming to the actual part of your questions, what are the main reasons why the developing economies or developing countries are so much away from this modern or true representative democracy? I would like to explain in a way that there is a fear of the loss of power in developing countries, and the leadership and the quality of leadership in the developing countries is not of that great caliber. They are not of that great caliber where they can actually sort out or finalize their own problem with their institutions. So there is always we can see that they always have a stagnating sort of situation between different institutions, where parliament is having some problems with their bureaucracy or administrations, and that actually create a fear of power. What will happen if they will not be in power again? And that fear is actually pushing them towards the hybrid democracy, the democracy which is not a truly representative democracy. So in terms of the hybrid democracy, they make decisions where they can actually control power. The rule of law is not going to be followed properly. Even though if it's a legitimate democracy, like I explained, legitimacy, even though they have the popularity and majority of vote from the people, but still the rule of law is not going to be equally prevailing in that society. And then the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of media, freedom for the civil societies to express their views in terms of a feedback on the government progress and work, in terms of the feedback what the government is doing for the betterment or not for the betterment of the people, is obviously going to be slashed again. And finally, it does not bring any benefit or fruitful benefit for the society. And that fear of power, to remain into power, is basically the root cause of all evil in the democratic societies of the developing economies or the developing countries around the world. Thank you, Musa.
That's an amazing insight. I guess you have made clear like a hybrid model. But this model as a hybrid is actually damaging the people. People are on the road, they are below the quality of life. We saw in Sri Lanka, we saw that there was a family ruling over the year. We saw in Pakistan, there is a family in 70s. There was a leader whose daughter came in 90s. Now son is preparing and a grandson is preparing. So if you tell the British people, they will laugh. They will say, what democracy it is, because it's not possible that the sitting prime minister will inherit the prime ministership to his son or daughter or grandson. So this is never evident in the Western countries. So my last question for the day is that how you think that how Pakistan can learn? Do you think in Pakistan this democracy, the hybrid one, where uh, the son, daughter, and grandson sequence is going. Pakistan is continuously going under financial issues, unrest, civil chaos, currency depreciation, balance of payment issues, balance of trade issues, um, integrity of the country, sense of belonging. People are leaving the country, settling in other countries. So, what? How you think about the democracy in Pakistan?
Thank you, Musa. Look, the democracy in Pakistan, I personally think it has never been matured. The institution in Pakistan, or the democratic institution in Pakistan, has a lot to learn from the advanced or developed democratic institution around the world. They can learn their strengths from their strengths and from their pillars. Like I have explained, that the four important pillars of the democracy in my previous answer. Similarly, the democratic institution in Pakistan should learn from those four pillars. They need to have a proper legitimacy of the democratic elected government. Whether that democratic elected government has the popularity among the people, they should have the rule of law, freedom of speech, and constitutional sort of authority, so that they can deliver to the people what they have promised. But unfortunately, the democracy in Pakistan is always run around the craze of power, always being into the power. And they always want to stay into the power. Like you have mentioned, the family in is in the power, and then after father, the son is going to be in the power, and it's a family politics actually going on. It is more close toward the authoritative sort of situation, where one family or the second family or the third family, they want to be into the power. It's a legacy which is going on, so that the new next generation will come, and then they will hide the doings and undoings of their predecessors or their family elders. So that is clearly a form of what you can say, it's authoritative or oligarch sort of democracy in Pakistan, where few elites in the society selected by their political parties will go to the people and get the vote, and then they will come by the combination of more than one party into power, and that's how they are running the political system. And in saying they are not, what I can witness, they haven't uh, been accountable and answerable to the people, what they have done in so many previous decades, or or did they have done anything for the betterment of the people in the previous decades or not. So that is unfortunately a very unfortunate reality in the democratic system of Pakistan, that it hasn't been flourished properly. It hasn't learned anything from the modern or developed democratic societies around the world, and it still have the instinct of authoritarianism, oligarchs, a system where few elected elites will have the ruling authority, and then their family dynasty is going on again and again, again and again, and it's a fear of power to be in the power from one term to another term, or by hook or by crook, by rightful or wrongful way, whatever they have to do, they just want to be into the power so that they can hold their grips onto the power. So the question comes, where is the benefit of the society? What is the betterment of the people? Is the society is getting any benefit? Is the people, those who are the forming that society, and those who have elected those people or representative and send them into the parliament or into their national parliament, are they doing any betterment for the people of that society? My answer is clearly no, because the betterment hasn't been visible, and it is evident from the fact, from the previous understanding and a continuous understanding, that the living standard, the average living standard, the level of poverty, the level of suffering has increased in the society. People are not getting what they are, what they have the willful right to get. They are still deprived of the basic necessities of life. They are still struggling for the basic facilities for the life, which includes food, which includes utilities, a good health system, a good education system. So still, these are the really important factors which needs to be done and which needs to be covered by any democratic society, so that people of the society will get some betterment in their living standards, in reality, in their lives.
That's an amazing analysis, and I will definitely request you to discuss the democracy in Pakistan in our next episode, where we should highlight what this democracy sounds like and how beneficial it is so far as a critical analysis, and what could be the better model for Pakistan in the future to develop as a developing country where people can really get the benefits of democracy. With this, I want to thank you, Imran, for joining us, and I'm looking forward to see you in our next.
Thank you, Musa.
Well, we are almost in the end of our discussion, so you can see that as our expert live from Australia has highlighted different model of democracies, and we see that democracy is a different thing. You know, the people born in developing countries have no exposure. If they don't have exposure about the Western democracy, they will never come to know that what is the importance of democracy. Like, what is the importance of a local government or a state government or a federal government, where you can be a part of their elected representative of your community, and you can raise your sound, you can make laws, you can influence your society. If you see in Pakistan, we are stuck with a sort of democracy which is actually not a democracy, where the grandfather and then the daughter and then the grandson and maybe his next generation is also ready. But we saw in Sri Lanka that people rejected this model and they came on the road and they totally don't want this kind of democracy. Same in Pakistan. If you see, the people are really frustrated. Once the parliament member goes in the parliament, there's no association. At times, we saw that someone win from area which he don't belongs to, but somehow there is some hidden hands who make him win from that area. He never know what are the people, and he will never see them in next 5 year of 10 years. So it's a very complex model, but always knowledge and expertise can enlighten the people, give them a good direction of hope, because Pakistan is a great country, it has a great scope, it has 200 million people, which, if you see Pakistanis abroad, they are well respected, they are scientists, they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are chartered accountants, they are businessmen. But once they are in Pakistan, they are different, and we see the misappropriation, we see the bad governance in everything, like it's just a judicial system, or it's a governance, or it's a normal having an electricity connection. You need to give bribes, and you want a gas connection, you need to give bribe. No one will listen to you. There's no decorum. There's no human values. There is no human rights. These all things need discussion and a proper focus of the globe, so the country like Pakistan can grow, become an exemplary. People can proud globally that once they come out, they can see that Pakistan is a country who loves their women. They make education free for them. They want health care. They give health care free of cost to their women, women and children. They are very humanistic. There's no exploitation. There's no harassment. People are physically safe, and the system is growing. You give employment opportunities. You keep your currency stable. You don't go for unnecessary fundings, and you justify your development projects. You make people, the objective of the government should be to make people life very easy, very, very progressive, so you can develop as a nation. With this hope that Pakistan is going to be a great country very soon with our efforts, with our talks, I wish you good luck, and I hope to see you in the next program. Till then, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.